of the best pre-workouts and post-workouts is carbs, but like sugar. Like you can have candy, you could have a donut, you could have a Pop-Tart, and you can have these things if it makes you happy. And if it's going to satisfy that sweet tooth and give you that craving so you're not craving it later, you can have it and be satisfied and move on. And like short term, long term, that works for everybody. And we just want to make sure everything's in moderation. So when you're overindulging, when you're eating, when you're being strict with your diet, just know that it's okay. Give yourself that permission. It's okay to overindulge. It's okay to eat the foods that you enjoy, that bring you joy and make your soul happy. But if you're doing it all the time and you're expecting to see it change, that's where we fall off. That's where we disconnect. And that's where I'm going to tell you, it's time to make a change or it's not going to work. And I'm not going to be able to help you. And then it hurts you, it hurts me, and it hurts us all. Hey, welcome back to the BentOnBetter podcast. You're joined by Matt and Nick, and today we're very excited because, how's everything going? How's everything going for you? How's everything going for you?
I love the quick transition. We're doing great. Hey, how are you doing?
Well, I mean, like, how else can we kick off a conversation? Let's kick it off the conversation for what we have planned this week. So, timeline-wise, I don't like to I don't really like dating the podcast. So, there's a big holiday coming up this week.
Yeah.
And we happen to be getting together for that holiday.
Yeah.
You're coming over. We're hosting. You're coming over. And we're going to meet. We got some good food options. We have some great options. You guys are going to bring some food along as well. We just talked about making some sort of dessert out there that we could both indulge in and enjoy because we both are I'm gluten-free, but we're both dairy-free. Mm-hmm. And so we can find something that floats both of our boats and satisfies the sweet tooth and whatever else we want to get in there and pack in those calories maybe. Mm-hmm. But I think that's a kind of a great segue to what we want to talk about today.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because this is such a frequent question. And so this topic this came to us as a question on our Facebook page. And the question is, how should I prepare for overindulging? And particularly around the holidays, because this is the time that people love to just, take that time to be with their family or friends or whoever and not worry about the whatever the plan is, right? The fitness or the journey. So I think what you're going to do is probably lead us off here, and we'll just kind of both talk about, we can share some helpful hints, but also share bits and pieces from our own stories and from experiences that we've had that kind of help guide people.
Well, that's good. So let's take it back and let's talk about like what we do here with our nutrition coaching at BentOnBetter. So part of our entire program is the forever friendly, as I like to call it, forever friendly nutrition coaching. Mm-hmm. And that comes with this idea of dieting and diet culture are going to mislead you. And in the short term, they will give you success. If you stick to it, it will give you success. Mm-hmm. But in the long term, that success usually doesn't stay. Mm-hmm. And that's the story of practically everyone who's here. Mm-hmm. Too often do we hear someone say, like, I've lost 100 pounds, but it's the same 10 pounds. I lose it, I gain it. 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 100 pounds. I lost count there, but how many did I count?
I actually think you did 5.
Is that 5?
Of each.
I didn't even count
100.
That was right. Comment below. If it wasn't, let me know how many I counted. Really do it. Comment below. Maybe we'll pick a winner from this one. If you comment below and you get the right, we'll choose the people. Of course, you get the right number because you can go back through and listen to it. We'll pick a winner. I'll send you something special in the mail. So we hear this a lot of, like, I did the diet. I did this, the keto diet. I did the paleo diet. I did the
XYZ
diet. I did the Atkins diet. I follow Weight Watchers. I did the Herbalife thing. I did the whatever it is. There's so many out there, and I'm going to name drop them all because there are so many out there. Yeah. And to each his and her own, right? Like every single diet that exists is in existence because it worked for someone at one point in time, and they told someone else, and then it just kept going from there. And so there are a lot of programs out there that are built around this idea of, like, you need a diet. You need to follow a plan to get to your results. And you will. If you follow the plan, you're going to get there. More often than not, though, when you get there, you end up getting there because you've had this diet, because you've had this this change in your life. and your lifestyle and your eating habits in that term to get you to where you want to be. And then you hit the success point and you're like, yeah, rock on. Let's go eat. Let's go celebrate. I did it. I hit it. I did my goal. I lost my 100 pounds altogether. And it wasn't the same 10 pounds. Like, let's go. And then week after week, month after month, year after year goes by. And that 100 pounds you just worked so hard to lose by following that strict plan is now back. And sometimes it's back with more because it's kind of like it's interest, right? There's interest on it. Like as time goes by, like you build up and then like you acquire interest. You gain, like more happens because you thought you were in a different place. And we see our bodies and ourselves every single day when we look in the mirror. We don't notice the changes happening every single day. Mm-hmm. We don't notice the changes that are happening over time. It's not until months or even years have gone by that we notice those changes. Yeah. And that's why I tell everybody, take pictures of yourselves for nothing other than for your own journey and to show you how far you've come in either direction of where you're heading. Mm. But with us and the way I like to coach and the way we like to coach here at BentOnBetter with this forever friendly nutrition programming is this idea of understanding your baseline and working around that to fit your needs. So we talked about this in the previous podcast, how we need to have hydration as a base level. Like water's got to be the key level. And if you're not drinking 64 ounces of water at a minimum every single day, that's where you need to start first. So that's number one. Write it down. Write this down. Ready? Number one, hydration. Write it down, 64 ounces minimum, aiming to get half of your body weight in ounces in that day. Number two.
Wait, half of your body weight in ounces that day?
Half of your body weight in ounces.
What does that mean?
So if you weigh 150 pounds, mm-hmm. you need to be aiming to get 75 ounces of water in your day.
Gotcha. Okay.
Number two, protein. Got to make sure you have an adequate amount of protein. Your protein should make up 20 to 35, maybe even up to 40% of your diet, depending on what your goal is. At least 20%, up to 35, maybe even 40, capped at 40. I wouldn't go over 40% with your protein. That's way too much. But 20 up to 40 there. After you establish your protein, let's establish your fat. Let's make sure fat is the same thing. Our baseline 20% of your diet, and then up to 35, again, pushing it to 40, really pushing it there. And then whatever else is left over, that last part is our carbohydrates. Our bodies can store carbohydrates really easily. Our bodies can store them really easily. That's our normal form of energy, right? Mm-hmm. Carbohydrates are broken.
On-demand energy, man.
Carbohydrates are broken down into glucose, and glucose is then stored as glycogen, but in simple terms, carbohydrates can be broken down into sugar, mm-hmm. and our bodies use sugar for energy. Mm-hmm. And like people think sugar, like not table sugar, not refined sugar, like sugars, like what I just said, glucose.
Yeah.
So we have the vacuum going again.
Yeah.
I would tell them to stop,
the
but they're doing such a great job of keeping this place looking so good. We're gonna keep going and just speak a little louder just in case.
Yeah.
And so our bodies can store carbohydrates and our bodies can store fat. Right? That's kind of what we like to have. Our bodies can store fat, short-term and long-term fat. And it's the fat that like adds like in the squishiness that we don't want to have. Our bodies don't store protein. So we need to make sure we're eating protein on a regular, with regularity throughout your day.
To clarify, you mean they don't store excess protein, right?
Right.
If we have more than we need, we don't just somehow store it somewhere in our body.
Right. If we're eating protein, and like the problem is, for example, let's use this example. It's gonna be better. Mm-hmm. If you start your day off, because breakfast is the most important meal of the day. If you start your day off with a bagel and cream cheese, you've got carbohydrates and you've got fat. You could go the rest of your day. Don't do this, but you can go the rest of your day and not eat any more carbohydrates and still have enough carbohydrates through your day because your body will use them and then store them and then use them when you need them. Mm-hmm. Same thing with the fat, the cream cheese and the fat. Like you'll use it and then you'll store it and then probably not even use that either. But you'll have it there. You don't need to eat it the rest of the day because you had it in the beginning of your day. However, with protein, if you have protein at the beginning of the day, your body will then use it. And then if it's not being used, it's basically this moves on. Your body doesn't get protein. It's not producing protein. It's not using protein throughout the day if you're not giving yourself enough protein. So you need to make sure you're getting it throughout the day. So what I like to talk about people is this idea of creating your average to understand where you need to be. So for the example here, we're going to say that you're a 10. So if you're watching this, Nick, here I'm going to talk to you, Nick. So you're a 10, right?
I am a 10, dude. I'm a dime.
You are a 10 out of 10. So you're a 10. In order for you to stay the same, you need to be a 10 with your eating habits. So 10 is your goal for every day to stay the same, okay? So if Monday, you're a 10. Tuesday, you're a 10. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 7 days, you're a 10. Let's add up that total for that week. If you're a 10 every single day, what is your total for that week?
70.
70.
Yeah.
Now, if we need to find out what your average is for how many points you have in each day, how would we find that? We would take the 7 days and then we divide them, the 70 by 7, to find that your average was 10, right? That makes you stay the same. So if you're at 10 every single day, you stay the same. For most people, Monday through Friday, and this is for people who are with the mind of, I need to make a change in my body. I want to lose weight. I want to tone up, tighten up, lose body fat, whatever it is, get healthy, improve my body composition. Most people operate like this in a deficit throughout the week. So let's just say that they go down to like an 8. They're an 8 on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. They eat so well all during the week. So they then have just saved themselves 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 points. On the weekends, then they celebrate. People usually celebrate. And they're like, awesome. Like I'm usually a 10. Like I'm going to be a 15 on Saturday and a 15 on Sunday. Not too much higher, a couple points higher.
Points.
But those couple points come from things like if you have a couple beers on the weekend, or maybe a glass of wine, or during the holidays, you end up doing this. And we're going to get into that overindulging, right? We're getting into that. But I want to go with this baseline option, this baseline idea of the 10s. So if you're at 8 every single day, Monday through Friday, let's just say like you're eating super great. You're having protein at every meal. You're having vegetables at every meal. You're doing super great. The weekends come along, you're a bit higher. What happens is if you then take that, let's just say you're 8 every single day, Monday through Friday, and then you're 15 on Saturday and 15 on Sunday.
Okay.
That means your total for that week is 70.
Yeah.
If you divide 70 by 7 days, even though those 5 days you ate really well, you're still averaging a 10, so you're not changing at all.
Right.
And that's in a perfect world, right? That's in case someone's doing it really well, someone's eating mindfully throughout the week. What tends to happen, and what I would see a lot, is like Monday through Thursday, people are eating really well. Friday, they start their day off well, and then they end their day on a cap. They're like, cool, I ate so well this whole week. Awesome. I'm going to make myself like a 12 on Friday because, well, I deserve it. Like, why not? I deserve it. I ate as an 8 on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I'll be a 12 today. And then maybe Saturday comes around, they're like, oh, like I need to make sure I dial it in. I'm only going to be a 13. And they're like, oh, and then Sunday's like, okay, like maybe I'll have like a 12 or a 13 or a 14. Like it's still higher. Like in that case, I guess it'll be 2 points lower. But in that case, we have to look at the average. So what I tell people, and the way we like to coach it, and the way we like to talk about this, especially with the overindulging idea, is if we can set you up for success in that, if you're showing up 3 days a week, right? So 80% of people who are here, maybe even more than that, 80% at least of the adults who come here only come here 3 days a week. They train here 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, or some other variation of that rotation. Yeah. But 3 days a week. And those 3 days a week, when you're here, we want you to be a 9 or a 10. So you're not operating in a deficit. So you have enough energy to get through your workout and your training. Yeah. So you have enough energy to recover. You have enough energy to start to see progress. Also, when you're training, you are requiring more energy. So you're going to get hungry.
Yeah.
So we tell people,
you gotta have fuel to drive the car.
Have fuel to drive the car.
Yeah.
So on the other days, the other 4 days, what tends to happen is people still eat that way, even though we're going to be in a deficit. So let me flip it around now. So if you can eat, let's say Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Those are 3 days I'm training.
3 days you're training. So on Monday, you eat a 10.
Okay.
On Tuesday, we're an 8. Okay. On Wednesday, we're a 10. On Thursday, we're an 8. On Friday, we're a 10. And then on Saturday, we're a 10. And Sunday, we're a 10. Everything's staying mindful. You're staying as your average, but there are 3 days where you're eating less than your normal. Mm-hmm. Those 3 days take you down 6 points in that whole week, right? So now we're at 64 as the total instead of 70. If you divide 64 by 7, you're less than 10. You're less. I don't know that math because I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
You're less than 10, right?
Yeah.
Like that is 100% correct. You are less than 10 is your average.
Yeah.
And that is how we see success. We see success in the week by week average instead of by the day to day win or loss. It's the week by week average that changes us. And it's those small changes week by week that add up and compound over time. So when we talk about overindulging and we talk about around the holidays, what we want to do is really plan out your week in that same way. So if you know that you have a wedding coming up on the weekend, or if you know that you have Thanksgiving coming up, and you know that you're going to eat a lot of food and you really want to indulge, and overindulging may very well happen because you're with family and friends and people who matter. I'm worried that this is going to be too loud. Let me just pause. maybe Jaquan can throw something up on the screen right now that's like, do 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 do
Yeah.
do. We'll be back to you after a moment. Yeah,
A
momentary
commercial?
break. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, maybe we should put a commercial in here.
We should.
We should do something right in between.
We should.
Oh my gosh.
We need to clean in here too.
Yeah.
Dang. This is good. What was I saying?
Overindulging.
Oh, right. Thank you.
Getting ready for the actual holiday itself.
Yeah. Okay. So overindulging, especially around the holidays, is. Hey, we already said that. I want to make sure that we edit it in the right progression.
Yeah.
No matter what the holiday is, you have something coming up, we want to make sure that we're eating in preparation for that and not punishing ourselves in preparation for that or because of that. Mm-hmm. So what I tell people is, let's use Thanksgiving as an example. If Thanksgiving is on a Thursday, we know that Thursday there is Thanksgiving. What you want to do is then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of that week, we want to make sure that you are eating enough to sustain your training program, enough to sustain your recovery, but maybe just a little bit less than what you're used to doing. So instead of being a 10 on Monday and a 10 on Wednesday, like you were in that previous example, you're going to actually be an 8 on Monday, 8 on Tuesday, 8 on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. And then Thursday comes around, indulge, have it, have a good time. Don't go overboard, right? We need to plan this out accordingly. We need to make sure we're doing this all mindfully. And I have some tips with that too, actually, for like holiday eating. We should talk about that too. Don't let me forget holiday eating. But then on the holiday or on the event, have fun, enjoy it. Like, live your life, have what you want to have, drink what you want to drink, but use the couple of tools like hydration, like protein, like vegetables to really help make sure that you're staying full so you're not overindulging and then missing out on those key components that we talked about. Yeah. And then the day after, don't punish yourself and starve yourself the whole day. Yeah. Go back to an 8 the next day so that you're not completely deprived, but you are a little bit less. And then the following 2 days, make those 8s again. And then if you look at it, the whole week of the average, no matter how, let's just say you decide to be at 20 on that day, right? If you decide to be at 20 on that day, like you're still gonna be higher, but it's way less than if you were to have it indulged and jumped back to normal and then been like, oh, I'll get back to it on Monday. Just get right back to it. And that's where a lot of people fall off, is that this idea of like, I need to punish myself, or I need to just, or like, oh, I already fell off, I might as well just stay off and get back to it in a few days. Get right back to it. Get right back to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And these ideas of, you mentioned these numbers, and I don't want anybody to feel like they have to starve themselves in order to be an 8. It's not, you're not trying to starve yourself. In fact, if you have that term in your head that I somehow need to starve in order to lose weight, it's a little bit backwards. We need to shift that mindset away from that into thinking we're taking in more nutrients in just different ways. We're spreading those nutrients in different ways and across the carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, like you were mentioning earlier.
Yeah. There's big, and like, let's not forget fiber, but like the other big part of that, fiber's huge, and hydration's huge, but the other big part that we should mention here with holidays and indulging is alcohol, right? We talk about alcohol as another component of calories for a lot of adults because they want to unwind on the weekend. They want to unwind after a long day at work. They want to unwind and be able to enjoy in a different level than they would without alcohol. These special events and these occasions, and alcohol is 7 calories per gram. So, and the other part of alcohol that we kind of neglect and forget is that it slows down our metabolism. It has to be processed by our liver in addition to everything else that needs to be processed by our bodies. And then it also is going to be a lot of calories that we have to break down as well. So when we're consuming alcohol in addition to other things and indulging and overindulging, what we have to remember is hydration is going to be, like, water is going to be our best friend in those cases. So having water equal parts in those moments where we're consuming alcohol, but also the hydration prior to, the days leading up to, and the days after can also help benefit and recalibrate our systems to make sure that we're not suffering long term from the decisions we made to indulge.
Yeah, and there shouldn't be any shame. Mm-hmm. You know, I know it's hard to just say don't feel shame in consuming alcohol, because inherently when you say that, you almost feel a little bit of shame. But Don't feel bad. Don't shame yourself if you want to have a beer or a glass of wine or whatever your choice, if you're going to consume alcohol. But like you said, that water balance there can really make a big difference in terms of how you're feeling, first of all, that day, but definitely the day after. I think sometimes the confusion
The days after,
correct. The confusion sometimes is that the eating, we'll frame it like that. The overeating is somehow what causes us to feel bogged down and heavy. And yes, in some ways it probably is, but the alcohol there also is playing a role in the hydration in your muscles and the way that we're using our energy in our body. So no shame, just understand what's happening when you're consuming these items.
The other part I want to throw in here though, because this is important to say this, I really want to speak directly. You said don't shame yourself into doing it. However, you should feel this though. You should be able to feel and connect emotionally into this. And if you are someone who is consistently breaking down yourself about not seeing progress, if you're consistently talking to any of your coaches, me, Nick, Alicia, Molly, Lynn, or anywhere else that you train, and you're saying how you're not seeing progress, but you're someone who frequents a glass of wine each night because you need to unwind, or a frequent beer or two on the weekends, or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, and you're justifying that as I've worked so hard. That's fine. Work hard. Get to that point where you get to enjoy it. However, if you're going to still complain after coaches or someone has told you not to have those things because they are calorically dense, they're not helping you long-term with the goals you're telling us you have, it's time to make a change. Mm-hmm. And I need to be very direct because everyone knows I'm going to be so friendly. And I am. I'm super friendly. I want to help everybody and change their lives in so many ways. But we do need to be clear here. And I'm saying this because I want people to speak up. I want people to address this with me. If you are someone, and this is for everybody, if you're looking to change your life and make a difference in your composition, in your body, in your health, in your physical fitness, in your mental fitness, in your spiritual fitness, your emotional fitness, and your life, and you believe that alcohol is the way to help you stay sane or whatever other thing you want to do, but then you're giving yourself, you're beating it down, and that this program doesn't work, or all this diet doesn't work, or all this thing doesn't work, but you still have alcohol in that rotation. It's time to pump the brakes. Time to look at what you're saying and actually live the life that you're saying. And if you're not losing weight because you're consuming the alcohol because you need it, because it needs to unwind, because you have a stressful job, a stressful life, whatever, that's okay. But just know that you need to live with that. Yeah. You need to live with that if that's the case. And do not get mad at the fitness program or that your eating habits or anything else if alcohol is that one factor, because it tends to be the one factor for a lot of people.
It's the glue.
It's that one factor.
This, yeah.
And when we're talking about indulging and we're talking about fuel and stuff, it would be better for you to eat a bunch of cookies than it would be for you to drink a bunch of alcohol in the same amount of calories, because your body will then use those. Your body can use those cookies a little better than they would use that alcohol a little better. And it's not going to give the same kind of repercussions the next day after you eat those cookies versus after you drink that alcohol. So keep that in mind when we're thinking about our goals, when we're thinking about indulging, when we're thinking about having it. You can have alcohol, but you need to be ready to live the consequences or to live the results that are coming or lack thereof because of that decision that you made, because you're making that decision.
Yeah, well, I think the point that's it's just lingering there is that this whole conversation already so far has been built around this idea of averaging your numbers across a week. And I think sometimes the reason why alcohol gets seen as this, it's okay, it's just this one drink or this 2 drink or whatever here in the mix of things, is that it's not perceived to be a very high number on that scale, right? And when you're trying to say, let's be an 8 on the day right before your training, right? So that you're a little bit lower. Yeah. And if you still consume, let's say, that 1 or 2 glasses of wine, instead of that glass of wine being, I know this is arbitrary, instead of it being 1 point, which might be the perception for a lot of people, it might be more like 3 points. Honestly,
yes, dude. Right? That happens all the time.
It's not an equal trade-off in terms of points.
Yes. And that's a big factor. And you know what? This is also, because you're going in a different direction, but I want to take this here too. More often do I hear, it's more often than not do I hear, one of our members comes in, she says she has a glass of wine a night. It's just my thing is how she unwinds. She has a glass of wine a night, and usually pairs that with some sort of salty things like chips, potato chips. Literally said potato chips is her number one go-to. Okay. Sometimes she'll have a piece of just one piece of chocolate, but usually it's potato chips and a glass of wine. Yeah. And so I asked what's the glass of wine? And we showed the picture. I showed a picture of what a 4-ounce glass looks like, and then what a 6-ounce and what an 8-ounce glass looks like. And more often than not, it's the 6 or the 8. It's never the 4. Yeah. And so what we have to think about is, like, okay, 2 more ounces, 4 more ounces, maybe that's not a lot. But if you're thinking to yourself, I'm only having 1 glass of wine, but that 1 glass is 8 ounces of wine, that's 2 servings. That's 2 servings of wine that you're having in that 1 glass. And then you also have the chips. And like, not to say that either one of these are bad things. And like, you can indulge and you can have them. But we're talking about this point idea of my 10s example. The 10s is powerful in illustrating the point. But to really break it down, your body, in order for us to see changes, our bodies need to be either, calorically speaking, need to be 250 to 500 calories under to start to see progress. Or the other way, if you're 250 to 500 calories over, you're going to start to see changes in the other direction. Gradual change in the other way of gaining. So that glass of wine can very well be the make or break for you. Yeah. If you and it can even just be the portion of it, right? If you only have 1 glass of wine that's 4 ounces, that I'm not sure the exact calorie amount, but that may be like, let's just say 100 calories.
Sure.
But if you have an 8 ounce glass of wine, that's 200 calories. And again, I don't know these exact numbers. I don't know.
But it all looks like 1 glass of wine is the point you're trying to make.
It all is just one. Same thing with another one. One of our other members, he was a morning cereal guy. Every day he would have a bowl of cereal.
I feel that.
And I asked what kind of cereal it was. He's like, oh, it's just Special K. I said, like, what kind of milk is it? And he said, oh, it's 1%. Like, oh, cool. Okay, 1% milk. I guess, on the scale of whole milk, 2%, 1%, that's probably one of the better options.
So far, so good.
And then I asked him, how big's your bowl? He's like, just normal sized bowl. I'm like, can you hold it in one hand? He said, yes. I said, when you fill that bowl up with your cereal, how high does the cereal get in the bowl? He said, I usually fill up to the top. I said, just a little below the top, so when I put milk in, it doesn't overflow. Mm-hmm. If you look at that, that's like 2, maybe even 2.5 servings of that one bowl, but he thought it was just one bowl. And a lot of people think 1 plate, 1 bowl, 1 glass is 1 serving, but that's not the case.
Yeah.
Do you want to get a really, really crazy, mind-blowing, in touch with reality, and like, just do this. Okay, people who are at home, if you're watching the YouTube, like, I'm looking at you. If you're listening to this, I'm speaking directly to you. Do this. If you don't have a food scale, get a food scale. That's number one investment that you could possibly get for your kitchen. That is going to be the best investment possible. Whether you're trying to lose weight, lose body fat, gain muscle, tone up, tighten up, whatever it is, whatever your goal is, a food scale is going to be wonderful. And they're like $15, $20, like super inexpensive.
Yeah.
Measure a serving of your favorite nut butter. Peanut butter for some people. Peanut butter. Just like grab a spoon, stick it in, and pull out what you think is your normal serving. And then measure it on a scale. And the way you would do that is real simple. Like, you put the spoon on the scale, zero the scale, and then take your scoop out of the peanut butter, almond butter, whatever you use, and put it back on the scale. And see what that serving is. A serving of peanut butter or almond butter tends to be around 30 grams. 28 to 30 grams, I think, is usually a serving, like an ounce, right? Okay. 1 ounce is 28 grams. So that's like 180 to 200 calories.
Oh, it's high.
And some people think that a serving is what they put on their, like, whatever they put on their sandwich. Like, just have, like, a serving is whatever I put on there.
Whatever covers the bread. And it tends to be usually like 1/2 or 2 servings of peanut butter. And so I have people, this is kind of how we do this forever friendly nutrition coaching, is I want to bring, and like, I hope people who are watching, actually right now, if you're watching this on YouTube, comment below, especially if you're a member. Do me a favor and comment below and tell me, like, what have you done with working with me, going home and measuring out your peanut butter, or measuring out your milk serving, or your glass of wine a night. When I told you to do it and you went home to do it and you actually did it, comment below. And like, if you're afraid of like being like thrown out there, like, just, it's okay. We love you either way. But it would help illustrate this point of how much you learned, because I know a lot of you have learned. A lot of people have learned from this. What's that wow moment?
It's that wow moment.
What was the biggest like realization of, wow, I didn't realize that's what it looked like?
It was, and it's just and that's part of the battle. It's just understanding what it actually is.
Yeah.
And a serving. So let me just look this up. Wait.
Well, while you're looking that up, we're driving home this point of mindfulness in serving sizes, and it can sound a little redundant sometimes, because you think to yourself, like, I know this is what they preach in nutrition. A lot of times it's just awareness, but truthfully, you don't know until you practice it. And having that food scale investment, that $15 to $20 investment, can really change your life. Honestly, that 1 or 2 times that you measured out that item. All right, so I got it. So I want to just go back to that red wine that glass of wine a night, right? So we're going by red wine. Yeah.
So red wine. So in 1 fluid ounce, it's about 25 calories.
Okay.
Okay. So if you have a 5-ounce glass, which is pretty average for like a serving. I think of a serving as what would you get if you sat down at a restaurant? What would they give you in a glass of wine? Like most restaurants aren't going to pour you an 8-ounce glass. It's going to be losing money on that 8-ounce glass, right? They're gonna pour you a serving, which is probably going to be around that 5-ounce mark. Yeah. So that's 125 calories.
On average. This isn't going to be every single
on average. Yeah. But let's just use that as an example. So if every night you think that you're having a glass of wine and it ends up actually being 8 ounces instead of 4 to 5 ounces, that's an extra 75, like roughly 75 calories a night. And so if you're doing 75 ounces and let's just say you do it 5 nights a week because you have a stressful week, right? That's 375 calories extra in that week. And that's just if you have one glass that happens to be 8 ounces in that's just extra on top of what you're already having. 375 extra calories for that week. And we talk about the average, right? And we talk about what we're trying to lose and what we're trying to gain, what we're trying to change here.
Yeah.
But then in just 1 month, just multiply that by 4 weeks. Let's just call a month 4 weeks. That's an extra 1,500 calories that your body is getting per month.
Yeah.
And think about the other side to it. If you were down 1,500 calories, like that's what it takes to lose a pound of body fat. Is like I think a pound of body fat's like 3,500 calories.
35. Yeah. That sounds right.
Yeah.
We can double check.
Yeah, let's
3,500 calories, I believe, is 1 pound of body fat. We're looking this up. Jaquan will play that music right now.
I hope so.
Like elevator music.
Let's see if we can find this. Yeah, I was right. About 3,500 calories is 1 pound. That's what it takes to lose a pound of body fat. Mm-hmm. So if we're talking about losing and like how slow that is, so it's going to take you 2.5 months to gain a pound of body fat. Or you could go the other way, right? If you decide just to cut that glass of wine out, if you cut out that 125 calories per day, cut it out. If you just had that once a day instead of 5 days a week, if you had that would be way less. We're talking like 500 calories a week, right? 125 times 4. If you cut out that's 500 calories that you could cut out. 500 calories a week, if you can cut that out.
Yeah.
How soon then can we start to see changes? Well, then let's take that 3,500 calories and divide that by 500. So it's going to take you it could be 7 weeks to start to see that change. But 7 weeks, the cool part about it is it compounds, right? So if you also cut that out, you're gonna start to feel better. So you're gonna actually eat better. You're gonna actually start to move better. Everything else compounds in that way.
This was kind of what I was trying to mention earlier about it's maybe not like a 1 point on the scale. It's more like 3 or 4. Like it weighs more.
It weighs more. Yeah. Air quotes. Weighs more.
It affects your body in different ways other than just calories. And I think that's the misconception is that even though we get caught up counting these calories sometimes when it's important when we're talking about weight loss, yes. But some of these nutrients or things that we're consuming affect our bodies in different ways. And it's really important to address that, especially when we're talking about alcohol.
It is. And so let's bring it back to the indulging factor.
Yeah.
So overindulging is okay. It's okay to indulge. Actually, part of what we always talk about here at BentOnBetter and what we do with our coaching is everything in moderation, right? So everyone who's sit down with me and talk to me, you know that I love sweets. I mean, there's no question. We love sweets. The April boys are very, very much so sweet teeth.
Sweet teeth. We don't have a sweet tooth. We have sweet teeth.
Yeah, we have sweet teeth. Yeah, that's for sure. And then part of that comes back to the chemical addiction of like sugar and like how we were raised. We love our mom, but like it was always like a reward factor for us.
Yeah.
Like candy was a big deal. Rewards, like candy or sweets in any way, whether it was a piece of chocolate, whether it was a piece of ice cream, a piece of cake, a donut. But like I remember growing up, like pastries were like Pop-Tarts were breakfast, or like I remember I would grab a brown sugar Pop-Tart or a s'mores Pop-Tart, toast that, and while I was toasting, I would grab a Slim Fast shake because I knew I thought I'd get protein. Like that was where I thought I was getting protein, like one of those Slim Fast shakes, and I would drink that in the can. I'd crack the can open, drink the can, and then I'd have my Pop-Tart, and that would be my breakfast before going to school. And man, how terrible of a breakfast that was. But like, how do we know? No one was telling us this stuff. Yeah. But like, our sweet teeth are definitely chemical addictions. And like, you can look this up. There's actually a really great TED talk about this and a really great TED Ed. I'll have to find this. Maybe we can link it up in the show notes. Maybe when I'm going through the show notes, if we can, we'll throw that TED Ed video in there. So this is a note to Jaquan or to Kat, if you're watching this, please help me out and remind me to get this link here. But there's a great one that talks about a chemical addiction to sugar and how in most of our society, we are chemically addicted to sugar. It's just a matter of how addicted we are and how we handle that addiction, because addiction is a major factor of, and sometimes it's hereditary, sometimes it's a major part of some people's makeup, chemical makeup.
And it's not like you're talking about like they're lacing our sugar with any one particular ingredient.
No,
right? You're
no,
just
it's
saying
just
biologically,
biologically,
humans happen to have this drive to kind of consume.
We are chemically addicted to sugar. We are. Our brains are chemically addicted to sugar. There is a dopamine effect that happens when we have it, the same as eating a piece of candy as it would to, like, if you were to take a drug. It's a little lower level. It's a lower level, but it's that satisfaction. Same thing with alcohol. Like there's a certain thing that happens when you are having
it's our pleasure center in our brain.
Exactly. It's our pleasure center fire in the same way they would with consuming sugar as it would if you were to take illegal drugs. So for overindulging and understanding this and how it all ties in is with no matter where you are, and I tell people this, so I'm human, like moderation is key. Yeah. And moderation is key to longevity, is key to life, but we have one life to live, but you have one body to live in.
Yeah.
So we can take that into whatever way you want to, whether you want to work out all the time. Unfortunately, you can't outwork a bad diet. You cannot outwork a bad diet. And anyone who knows me really well, you know that the word can't is not part of my vocabulary. I don't use the word can't unless you literally can't. And you can't outwork a bad diet. So if you're overeating and you're trying to lose weight, you're not going to be able to lose weight the way you can if you were to eat the way you should. You will not be able to outwork a bad diet. Yeah. So moderation is key, and it's key to our success in terms of our bodies. It's key to our success in terms of our emotional, spiritual, mental, and physical health. Yeah. And some of the tricks I use for people, so we talk about tricks, and I want to give a little trick here. If someone like me, you have sweet tooth, one of the best times to have your sweet tooth craving satisfied is right before or immediately after a training session. So before, I'll eat some candy. I'll throw literally just dump some sugar in my coffee, before I lift, sugar, right? Because it's an immediate form of energy. It's there. It's fast, easy. Now, of course, we're trying to be more mindful and you don't want to trigger yourself into spiraling down, just eating bags and bags and bags of Swedish fish and Sour Patch Kids like I would. But but you could do that in other ways too. But I know there are other members here who also feel the same way, who are in the same boat as me, who love their sweets. And one of the best pre-workouts and post-workouts is carbs, but sugar. You can have candy, you could have a donut, you could have a Pop-Tart, and you can have these things if it makes you happy. And if it's going to satisfy that sweet tooth and give you that craving so you're not craving it later, you can have it and be satisfied and move on. And short-term, long-term, that works for everybody. And we just want to make sure everything's in moderation. So when you're overindulging, when you're eating, when you're being strict with your diet, just know that it's okay. Give yourself that permission. It's okay to overindulge. It's okay to eat the foods that you enjoy, that bring you joy and make your soul happy. But if you're doing it all the time and you're expecting to see it change, that's where we fall off. That's where we disconnect. And that's where I'm going to tell you, it's time to make a change or it's not going to work. And I'm not going to be able to help you. And then it hurts you, it hurts me, and it hurts us all.
Yeah. Just because you want this certain result and you seem to think that you're somehow going to get it by having this not so great diet and just trying to force exercise everything into every nook and cranny to try and make up for that. It typically, like you mentioned earlier, it's not going to work. You will, if maybe it works at first for a few weeks or even a month or so, it will catch up. Mm-hmm. It always does. We see it all the time. Yeah. It will catch up to you.
Yeah. And so let me give you this last tip. So if we're eating around the holiday, if we're eating around a special event, something where eating and drinking tends to be a big part of it, like Thanksgiving or the 7-fish dinner that we do with our family, that happens to be like Christmas Eve time, and weddings or anniversaries or parties or birthdays, anything that happens where there's a center around food, because that's what brings us all together, right? Food is that everyone speaks that language. It's a matter, it's just what ties us all together. So food is a big part of that. So if you're eating and you're eating, let's just say you're eating normally, leading up to that example, and you do overindulge, the best thing you can do in the day that follows and the days that follow is to get back to what you know to be a successful, healthy eating plan of baseline, getting your hydration up, get more water in no matter what, get the protein in after that, and then throw in some vegetables with your protein, fats, and then carbohydrates at the very end. If you're hungry, reach for water and protein first. So protein sources can be anything from to any sort of meat option. So any sort of animal product would be fine. You could also go the dairy route as well. If that's your preference. You could also go simple with like eggs. You could go simple with even like making a protein bar of some sort that has a few different layers in there of using like a vegan-based protein, and you can put in some sort of fruit and make it into a bar or a shake or something, but make it so that there, and next some other options for protein sources that are plant-based. Can you give me some quick options for plant-based protein sources?
Yeah, so again, this all comes down to what some of your other macros are, and just understanding that, yes, it's not that one item is necessarily going to be only a carbohydrate or only a fat source. You just have to know how to weigh them appropriately. And so for me, myself, I like to put grains and legumes together all the time. And so some classic examples of this, again, understanding when to eat them in the right moderation. But beans and rice are the classic. Anytime you talk to somebody who's plant-based, they're always going to say beans and rice. But if it's not beans and rice, it could be oats and peanut butter, but in the right doses. So understanding using that scale to dose out the right amount of peanut butter or the right amount of nut.
Yeah. Dose sounds funny.
I know, dose out.
But yeah, but measure, yeah.
Serving
size. Servings.
Okay, whatever. Yeah,
yes, it's good.
Lentils are fantastic. Lentils are a great source, even though they are primarily, we have a lot of carbohydrates when we're talking about some of these foods, these grain sources and these legume sources. Yeah. They also have really terrific amino acid profiles in them. But it's just about the right dosage.
Yeah, it is. Right. Well, Nick, you're looking at it from the logistic of like eating well to fuel your training. So like, that's why I know you're saying doses. But another one, like nuts are really great. Seeds and nuts are really great options too for simple. Like I remember we mentioned that they're also usually higher in fat.
They are
higher in fat.
Calorically speaking, they're higher. Yeah.
And they are a fat dominant source of protein, but there is protein in them. One of my favorite go-tos for a quick protein source that I usually give to my boys as well, pumpkin seeds.
Oh, pumpkin seeds are delicious.
So like in terms of like simplicity and in terms of digestion and especially in terms of protein to fat ratio, pumpkin seeds have one of the best ratios of protein to fat. Much lower on the protein scale. It's about 13 grams per serving, in a serving being 1 ounce of pumpkin seeds, roasted pumpkin seeds, with just sea salt. You're going to have about 13 grams of fat in that serving of 1 ounce, and then about 8 grams of protein, which is awesome. And you're also going to get some great dietary fiber in there and some carbs. Yeah. But the main point is that you can get a nice dosage of protein in that seed.
In a seed, we're talking about something that needs to sustain life.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that crazy? And all of that is packed into that little seed.
It's so awesome. So some really great options here. And if you want to listen to some more options we've talked about in previous episodes, we talked about our podcast, we talked about nutrition, we talked about the base level of how we need to do it all. But the biggest takeaway here is, if you're in a place where you know you're going to be indulging, or you have overindulged, the best thing to do is not to punish yourself. Yeah. It's not to kick yourself and to starve yourself. It is to get right back on immediately, as soon as you can, with your hydration, with your protein intake, and then fats and carbs can follow. But build that protein base with the water there, because one other thing that we didn't mention before, this is important to mention too. If you do increase your protein intake, you need to also simultaneously increase your water intake. Protein requires 7 times the amount of water to digest than carbohydrates and fats. Let me just say that again. Protein takes 7 times the amount of water to digest and be utilized in our systems versus carbohydrates and fats. So if you increase your protein intake, which everyone should be doing anyway, especially if your goal is weight loss, fat loss, body change in composition, gaining muscle mass, toning and tightening, whatever it is, you need to increase your water. And with that, your weight will go up, but your body fat will go down over time, as long as you're eating the right amount of calories and doing the right kind of training to match it and getting the right amount of sleep. There are always a lot of factors, right? It's never clean and dry. It's never easy, but it is simple.
Yeah. Right? That's beautiful. I love that.
It's never easy.
But it's simple.
And that's how we're going to leave it here. So if you're hanging out with us on YouTube, make sure you give us a little subscribe, click that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up on this video, and comment below. What are you going through? What was give me a time where you actually indulged and overindulged. What was that indulgence in? And then how did you autocorrect, or how did you fix it? Or what are you trying to do to learn how to fix it? What can we do to help you? If you're listening to this on the podcast, wherever you are, give us that 5-star rating and leave us a review. It helps a lot. And
make sure you subscribe too.
And subscribe. That's
if you're listening to us, if you haven't subscribed, oh, come on.
Get the alerts.
Catch up.
Get the alerts when we're coming out with these, because we're doing these so that you guys can benefit, so you can change your life, whether you're here with us or not. You can change your life just by listening and getting the right mindset to move on with your day. So for now, we're going to sign off. Yep. Swing by BentOnBetter.com too. A little plug there, a little selfish plug. Like right now, we're getting to this time around the holidays, and people are going to be getting focused on their health. So whenever you listen to this, it's always going to be the right time, because the best time to change your life was 20 years ago, and the second best time is now. And that comes from that idea of planting a tree.
What if you're 18 years old?
If you're 18 years old?
20 years ago.
Well, all right, dude. 18-year-olds probably aren't even listening to our podcast right now. They're mainly adults. We've got a lot of adults listening to it. Right. A lot of adults listening to it. And the adults who are listening, go by BentOnBetter.com. We have lots of great resources there. We have lots of great options there for workouts from home or training from home. We also have lots of options with us here virtually. You can work with us virtually in real time. You can work with us on demand with our entire library of over 100 videos that we have recorded. And we also are in person. So we have lots of options for people. But that's how we pay the bills, is by you guys hanging out with us here at Bent on Better. So come by, check us out, swing by our YouTube, swing by our podcast, swing by everything. Give us a love. We love you. And we'll see you again next time. Bye.